Boldwood presents Stolen, written by Ruby Speechley and read by Mira Dovreni. Prologue. Whatever is tied around her head covering her eyes is pulled too tight, digging into the sockets, pinching the skin across her temples. She's lying on her back, arms and legs bare, and there's a gag in her mouth. Her arms ache from her hands being tied so tightly together in front of her. She's tried pulling at the string with her teeth, but now her lips are bleeding. The metallic taste of her own blood turns her stomach. Nausea washes over her. How is she going to get out of here? Even with the blindfold on, she can make out a line of light around the door. She strains to hear if there's anyone there. Is someone coming to save her? What if they don't know she's here? She may never be found, and she'll die alone, with no one knowing who tricked her. Chapter 1. Vicki. I've said no, Lee, and I'm not going to change my mind. I press my hand to my forehead, then hitch my mobile higher against my ear. Just half an hour. Let me explain, he pleads. My stomach tightens. You've used up all your chances. The last time he dropped the kids off, their clothes stank of weed. To think he'd been driving at all, let alone with our precious children in the car. Look, I know I've messed up, he sighs deeply. I wince at his discomfort. But I need them to know it's not their fault that we haven't spent time together. It's been over a month, Vicki. Why would they blame themselves? I straighten my back. He's always got an answer designed to make me feel bad for him. He could charm a saucer of milk from a cat. Because kids do, don't they? He says it in that soft voice he uses when he's trying to get on my good side. But he's let me down so often it doesn't work anymore. No. I shake my head at myself in the dressing table mirror in case I give in. I mustn't. Much as I want the kids to see their dad, and much as I know how important it is they have a relationship with him, he needs to grow up and stop behaving like this. I'm sorry, but until you're completely clean, I can't risk it. I've told them you're ill, that you're getting treatment. You've what? Can you actually hear yourself? Anyone would think I'm a monster. And here we go again, spiralling into the same argument. When I first met Lee, I didn't mind that he smoked the odd spliff. It made him seem cool out of most of the boys I knew, most of whom were nerds. I presumed he was experimenting, but I soon worked out it was a regular habit. He had a handful of friends who smoked, and a different crowd he went to the pub with, which is where I met him. I probably should have left him then, but I was already in love. He stopped once he got a good job, and he didn't smoke again until we had Alfie. Then, when I fell pregnant a second time, he promised to stop again, and he did cut down for a while, but it wasn't long before he was back on it, even more than before. He said it was for medicinal purposes because he'd hurt his shoulder falling over. I shouldn't have stayed on for so long, because now I'm full of anger and resentment. Mark saved me in a way because, for the first time in years, I feel like I'm finally getting the life I always wanted. Come on, Vicki! Lee shouts down the line. You're not going near my children in that state ever again. My cheeks flush as my voice rises, and sweat prickles under my arms. I blink at myself in the mirror. Our children! His voice is hard. It doesn't take much for him to drop the charming act these days. Yet again, he's managed to upset me. It's like he knows Mark and I are about to go out for the evening, and he's doing anything he can to ruin it. He needs to realise I'm not a pushover anymore. I purse my lips and don't answer, because right now he doesn't deserve to be their father. I shouldn't have to protect them from him. I told you I've cut right down, and I've got an interview next week. I'm glad for you. Come back to us when you've sorted your life out. I'm about to hang up when he speaks again. Is he behind all this, turning you against me? It's his nasty tone. Why do you always blame Mark? I should have put the phone down. Mark will be here any minute, and I'm going to be in such a foul mood. You know why. You never used to be like this. Before him. There's that bitter edge to his voice again. You need to have a serious look at yourself before you point the finger. I grit my teeth at the pang of guilt prodding my chest. If Lee knew how often Mark stayed over, he'd go mad. I've asked the kids not to mention it to their dad, especially Alfie, as I know they still message each other, And they clearly haven't told him, otherwise I'd certainly know about it by now. I can hear Lee's response in my head. I do not want that man in my house. I can see how it looks from Lee's side, and a small part of me does feel bad. But he needs to take responsibility for his actions too. I didn't expect to meet someone else, but it felt like Lee and I were at the end of our marriage long before I met Mark. Neither of us was brave enough to admit it was over. After I began to work as Mark's personal assistant, it didn't take long for me to realise I wanted out of my marriage. Mark runs his own property business, Venture Properties. We hit it off straight away. He asked me out for lunch that first morning, and within a few months, Lee and I were officially over. I suppose Mark became his replacement. According to the whispers I've heard around the office, we're known as Benifer, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, although their relationship has broken down already, so I'm not sure that bodes well. I have to go, Lee. Call me when you're ready to step up and be a proper dad. I cringe as my words spill out uncensored. It's true, though, and maybe the truth will galvanise him into action. Without waiting for a reply or another excuse, I tap end call. I tug the lid off a bullet of scarlet lipstick and deftly apply a glossy layer to my lips. Lee will not get in the way of me moving on with my life. Mark is taking me to a fancy restaurant tonight, and I need to look the part. I'm hoping this new red satin dress will blow him away. We make such a gorgeous couple, everyone says so. Picturing him in his navy suit sends a flutter of butterflies rising in my stomach. Tonight could be the night he asks me, us, to move in with him. I'm not sure how Alfie and Bella will take it, leaving the only home they've known, but I'm confident they'll adapt. They're good kids, resilient. They've had to be with a volatile dad like Lee. I've done everything I can to protect them. I want them to have the best of everything in life, and with my new relationship, I'm hoping to achieve that, which is why Mark must never find out what I've been hiding. I draw in a breath. I don't want to lie to him, but if I tell him, it'll jeopardise our relationship. Alfie and Bella haven't seen Mark's house yet, but once they've been there and seen how much space there is, with a games room, swimming pool and huge garden, they'll never want to come back to our modest semi-detached with its narrow strip of lawn. I go to the window to pull the curtains but hesitate. There are a group of teenagers hanging around under the street lamp at the end of the road. One of them runs out in front of a car and stands there, arms out pulling faces at the driver. The horn sounds, and in seconds, the rest of the teenagers have surrounded the car, pushing it and spitting on it. I'm about to call the police when the teenager in the road jumps out of the way and the driver speeds off. I check my phone. Jess has texted to say she's leaving in a minute. I didn't think for a second she'd be involved with the teenagers causing trouble, but it's good to have it confirmed that she was nowhere near them. Hey, gorgeous, are you ready for tonight? Mark's text pops up. Yeah, almost. Can't wait. Kiss, kiss, kiss. A hit of dopamine still shoots through me every time Mark messages me. It takes me back to our illicit exchanges in the office. I'm ashamed to say I was still married to Lee, but we were barely talking to each other by then. He was more interested in going out with his druggy mates. Having an affair with the boss was never on my radar, but I admit it's been exhilarating. Be 5 minutes, was held up at work. Sorry. No probs. Babysitter is on her way. Kiss, kiss, kiss. I press send, then grab my clutch bag and check on Alfie and Bella in their bedrooms to let them know Jess will be here shortly. I hope there's time before Mark arrives to have a quiet chat with her. She swore not to breathe a word to anyone, but I just need to check she's not let it slip. Because if Mark finds out what I did, he will kill me. Chapter 2. Jess. It's dark outside when Jess shuts her laptop and lets out a sigh. She switches off the ring light on her desk and changes out of her school uniform into casual clothes. One of her regulars is getting pushy, sending messages all the time and wanting to meet. But she doesn't do meetups. She's heard stories, and she does not want to be cooked. At 5 to 7, she leaves the house with her rucksack on her shoulder and locks the door behind her. The cold air smarts her skin. She checks the local weather forecast on her phone app. 2 degrees by midnight with a low chance of snow. She tuts out loud. There was a sprinkle last night, which melted by breakfast time. As she walks down the garden path, she opens Snapchat, more out of habit than anything, then stops at the gate. Feral Cat 9 has left another photo message. This time, it's of the front of her house. It's taken at an angle from the ground up, so they must have been crouching in the front garden to take it. She shivers and looks left and right down the road, scanning the full 180 degrees before stepping onto the pavement. The hairs on the top of her head prickle. Their road isn't well lit, but the light from the full moon shows it's deserted. Yet she senses someone is watching her. She automatically glances up at the identical semi-detached houses across the road. Occasionally, she catches Colin, standing at his bedroom window looking out at her, but he's friendly enough. He was in the year below her at school, but now his mum homeschools him. She thinks he has a crush on her. It's kind of sweet. He has a lazy eye, but says it's not as bad as it used to be. His mum taped up one of his glasses when he was in primary school, but the bigger boys made fun of him. Jess and a couple of the other girls used to try and protect him, but it wasn't enough. He didn't go back after the pandemic. There are plenty of parked cars on both sides of the road, so it will be easy enough for someone to hide and still keep her in their sights. This feeling has been with her all afternoon since she walked back from school. It's probably Fran or one of her gang, she decides. But deep down is the fear of someone knowing what she does in her bedroom, or what she plans to do tonight. Maybe they saw what she bought at the shops on the way home. She tries to swallow, but her throat is dry. The box is safely tucked away in her rucksack with her English Lit revision as cover, just in case one of the kids wakes up or Vicki comes home early. She plans to do it as soon as they're asleep, but just the thought of what it could mean sets her heart drumming hard. A pale blue camper van trundles past. It takes her only moments to walk from their semi-detached to the mirror image semi next door, through their garden gate and up the path to Vicki's, right on the dot of 7 p.m. All day she's been trying to avoid bumping into Fran and her mates, and somehow she's managed it and finally made it here. Ollie has been messaging her every 5 minutes, wanting to see her, but she's told him he can't come round tonight, she's babysitting. So when he tries to call a few times, she ignores it. It's one of Vicki's golden rules: no boyfriends and no alcohol. She's been babysitting regularly for Vicki for the last 2 years, since Alfie was 11 and Bella was 4. She was 15. And although things have changed now Lee has gone, she really needs the money so she can save up to go to uni. So she has no choice but to carry on babysitting for her, even though she really doesn't want to. She glances over her shoulder as she walks up Vicki's garden path. There's no one around, but the sense that someone is watching her won't go away. Chapter 3. Vicki. I sigh with relief when I hear Jess slam her front door shut. It always shakes our house slightly, but it's strangely reassuring living in a semi. Have done all my life. It's comforting to be near other people, know that life is going on no matter what you may be going through. Even when you hear the neighbours shouting at each other. And Jess's parents, Cassie and Dom, do that a lot. We went through plenty of drama when I was growing up, but nothing compared to them. I do worry about Dom's temper, though, and my mind automatically springs back to the summer Jess fractured her wrist. I've never quite believed their accident explanation. I hurry downstairs and reach the bottom just as Jess rings the doorbell. She's wearing a black cropped jacket which matches her long straight hair, a stripy jumper, jeans with a pair of Converse trainers. Come in, come in. My mind instantly goes back to the day we were here together, alone. How are you? Jess tilts her head with real concern on her face, and a fresh coconut aroma is released from her newly washed hair. She's clearly thinking of that day too. I'm doing okay, thanks, I reply in a low voice. She nods, keeping her eyes fixed on me. I lead her down the hall to the kitchen and open the fridge. Can I get you some lemonade or a Coke? Just water, thanks. I take a glass down from the cupboard and fill it from the tap. So, for dinner I've left a couple of pizzas and a garlic baguette for you and the kids. Apparently they want to watch something with you on Netflix, Wednesday I think. So I don't mind them staying up a bit and eating on their laps. Just this once. I turn and smile as I hand her the drink. Yeah, of course. Her face is powdered almost white, and her long lashes are lined black with perfect little flicks at the corners. Purple lipstick seems a bit over the top for school, although they don't seem to mind the older children wearing makeup these days. Or she only just put it on. It's Jess's signature look. There's a ring through one nostril, but I don't know if it's real or some sort of clip-on. I don't like to ask. They can't allow piercings at school, surely. I have all this to come with Alfie, then Bella. Have your mum and dad gone somewhere nice this evening? I ask her. Comedy club in town. Won't be back till late. She nods. They're brave going on trains in this weather, forecasting a storm later, but it's been sunny all day, with not so much as a gentle breeze. We certainly don't plan on being out for hours anyway. I fuss around, straightening the chairs at the breakfast table. I don't mind, come back whenever. As soon as the children are in bed, I've got English revision to do. She leans casually against the kitchen counter, her hands in her jacket pockets, rucksack at her feet. Good, good. I hold onto the back of a chair and glance at the floor, then up at her. I wondered if I could ask you something about October half-term week. I clench my teeth together. Yeah, of course. It's nothing really. I hesitate because whichever way I put it, it's going to sound needy. I just wanted to check that you didn't tell your mum about what happened, or anyone else actually. I let go of the chair and wring my hands together, the way my mother used to, I suddenly realise. I'd be mortified if Cassie knew, or anyone come to that. No, absolutely not. I said I wouldn't. She frowns and blinks rapidly a few times, probably wondering why I'm checking when we'd already agreed to keep it between us. But I can't help it. It's been playing on my mind. I really hate asking you not to tell your mum or anyone else about this, but I know you understand how personal it is. Jess picked the kids up from school, then minded them for me that afternoon during October half-term. She saw the state I was in when I got home. She offered to stay longer than we'd planned, to keep Bella and Alfie away from me while I recovered. I was so grateful. I didn't want them to see me like that, so I sneaked up to bed and slept it off, while she played games with them for the rest of the afternoon and cooked their tea. It's okay. I've not said a word to anyone and I'm not going to, I promise. She crosses her arms. I don't know if Jess is a little bit annoyed at me for not sounding like I trust her, or if she's bored of me talking about it. It would be devastating if anyone found out, that's all. I rub the side of my head. The whole episode has made me so anxious. Just the thought of it gives me stabbing pains in my temple. That's okay. I understand. I really do. She nods. Thank you. I'm so grateful, especially for everything you did for me that day. I'd like to think part of her agrees with what I did. I paid her well for the extra hours, but I'm just so paranoid that she might let it slip. Cassie would be shocked and disappointed in me. And then there's Jess's boyfriend, Ollie. She must confide in him about things. And if she told him this, he might feel he needs to tell Mark or even Lee, and where will that leave me? I keep telling myself not to dwell on it, but Jess is just a teenage girl. How can I really expect her to keep it to herself forever? Because the problem is, she's the only person with the power to blow my life apart. Chapter 4. Jess. Jess used to like babysitting for Vicki. It was easy money in the nicest possible way. She started her online work to try and generate a new income stream, and as soon as she's earning enough, which is hopefully soon, she'll be able to stop doing this completely. Alfie and Bella are lovely kids, and they like her, look up to her even. But Alfie has reached that age where he's started getting too much attitude and looking at her differently, like she's an object he can stare at. She does not want to babysit a teenager. But Vicki is friends with her mum, so she's going to have to think about how to tell Vicki she can't work for her anymore when the time comes. Jess's dad doesn't like Vicki's new boyfriend, Mark. Says he's too flashy and full of himself. Nothing like Lee, in other words. Mum tells him he's getting grumpy in his old age. It always sparks a debate, as he calls it, which involves him being vocal about what a stuck-up arsehole he thinks Mark is. Vicki must have heard him through the wall. It's so demeaning. Why does he always think he's right? Jess used to think it could be jealousy because Mark is at least 10 years younger than him, and there's no doubt he's hot and fit, but she'd never dare say that to Vicki's face or to her mum. Vicki opens the door and invites her in. She's wearing a tight red satin dress, a bit too tight in places, but Vicki won't appreciate her mentioning it. She seems a bit anxious and shows her the pizzas in the fridge. Then, after getting her a glass of water, she randomly asks if she's told her secret to her mum. Seriously though, as if. She is not known for being a snitch. But fair's fair, she supposes. She'd be beyond nervous too if she'd done what Vicki has, with no intention of telling anyone about it. But who's Jess to judge? For all she knows, she could be facing the same dilemma one day. Anyway, Vicki knows about her misdemeanour, So she'd hardly do anything to put their trust in jeopardy. Jess can't even tell Ollie or her mum about what she did because she's so ashamed. Jess is standing in the kitchen drinking her water when the doorbell rings. Vicki rushes to answer it. She checks herself in the hallway mirror before opening the door. Usually, it takes her hours to get ready, and she does look pretty hot considering she's recently turned 40. Jess's mum seems to have given up on wearing makeup completely, knocking about in jeans and trainers most of the time. But then her mum doesn't need to make that level of effort because she's naturally beautiful, and Jess's dad adores her just as she is. "Hi, Jess, how are you?" Mark waves to her down the hall, then hugs Vicki, still looking at Jess over her shoulder. He's holding a bottle of wine in one hand. The thought of drinking alcohol sets off a wave of nausea. "Good, thanks," Jess says in a tiny squeak. She tips her glass up and sips her cool drink, hand shaking. Sweat has gathered around her collar, and her pulse is thudding in her neck. She hates that she's always like this when he speaks to her. It's so embarrassing. She took a secret photo of him the first time she met him, and when she showed it to Dana at school, she agreed he looked like a young Tom Cruise, but taller. They watched Top Gun Maverick, then the original, at Dana's house. Now she can't get the comparison out of her head, and it's driving her crazy. The first time she went there to babysit after Lee left, and Vicki introduced Mark to her, he had held his hand out to shake hers. His rough, tanned skin was warm, his grip firm and inviting, and she almost forgot to let go. Like then, he is wearing narrow taupe chinos and a pristine white polo top under a short brown leather jacket. Very Tom. Dana said he should start an account as a sexy older man. He smooths back his quiff and follows Vicki into the kitchen, his pointed mahogany shoes clicking as he strides across the hallway tiles. Vicki takes hold of the bottle of bubbly, and for a couple of seconds they both have their hands on it, gazing into each other's eyes, laughing at some private joke. Then she takes it from him and puts it in the fridge. Jess can hardly breathe. Mark smiles at her, but she looks away, pretending she needs to check her phone. Her legs wobble, but she manages to hold on to the back of a chair. Nausea washes over her again at the thought of Ollie finding out how she feels. She's thought about telling Vicki sooner than she planned that she can't babysit for her anymore, but she'd hate letting her down, especially when Vicki's trying to get her life back on track after her breakup with Lee. And Jess really needs to wait until she's earning more money online. There are only a few families she babysits for, but this is the most regular. Maybe, when she's more established online with a bigger fan base, she won't have to babysit ever again. Jess follows them out of the kitchen, keeping her distance. Vicki calls up to the kids that they're leaving and to come and say goodbye, and soon after Bella trots down and sits on a step near the bottom, wearing a unicorn onesie, her fair hair tied in plaits either side of her head. Alfie is nowhere to be seen. "Alfie, did you hear me?" Vicki calls again. "We're going." Silence. "Alfie, come down now!" Vicki yells louder, hands on her hips. Alfie appears at the top of the stairs and plods down 3 steps. He's swamped in his oversized Minecraft t-shirt and joggers, but he seems taller, more grown up than when she last saw him only a couple of weeks ago. His hair is a darker blonde, cut shorter with a skin fade, and on his forefinger is a plain silver ring. "Why didn't you come when I called you?" Vicki snaps. "I was in the middle of a game," he mumbles, and glares at his mum like she should know that and not interrupt him. "Less of the lip," Vicki says in a tight voice, probably embarrassed he's behaving like this in front of me. Alfie over-exaggerates a deflated sigh. "We're going to head straight off." Vicki checks her watch. She cups Bella's face and kisses her on the nose, then puts her hand up to Alfie, but he doesn't budge. At 12 years old, 13 on Saturday, he's moved way past the age of wanting his mum to kiss him, especially in front of anyone. "Now be good, both of you, and do what Jess tells you to, okay?" Vicki says. Bella nods enthusiastically. "Do I have to? I can look after myself. I don't need a girl to look after me," Alfie grumbles in an agitated tone. "Yes, you do." Vicki shoots him a warning look. "Whatever." He turns away. Mark holds her faux fur coat out, and she shimmies into it, then turns to Jess. "Please make sure he gives you his phone before bedtime." Alfie glares at the back of his mum's head, then side-eyes Mark, who winks at him. A little smirk appears on Alfie's lips. "The restaurant details are on the fridge, and if you need to call us for any reason, you've got my number," Vicki continues, giving Jess a pointed look. Jess nods, and Vicki turns to Mark and gazes into his eyes for a second before opening the front door. Ollie looks that way at Jess, and it's so lovely. But with university on the horizon, she's not sure she's ready for a long-term relationship. And, after their argument last night, she doesn't know if he'll want to stay with her. Especially when she confesses to him what she did. Chapter 5. As soon as Vicki and Mark drive off, Alfie stomps into the living room and switches on the TV, immediately flicking through the channels. Bella perches on the edge of the sofa. "Your mum said you wanted to watch Wednesday with me," Jess says to them, standing in the doorway. "That's for girls. I want to watch Squid Game," Alfie says. No, I don't think you're old enough for that just yet," Jess tells him. "Who says? I've seen the first episode and it's not that bad." Bella looks round at him and her eyes widen. "Really? Where have you seen it?" Jess asks. "At a mate's house," he says and folds his arms. "Oh yes, and which friend was that? I'll make sure your mum knows." He doesn't answer, and Jess suspects he's making it up. "Do you realise how violent it is? I can't let you watch it, especially with your little sister here. You'll get me in deep trouble with your mum." "So what? I don't need you telling me what to do," he grunts, and tightens his crossed arms, and I click over to The Simpsons. "Watch a bit of this while I cook the pizzas, okay?" He slouches back on the sofa next to Bella, who starts sucking her thumb, clutching a furry toy dog. In the kitchen, Jess switches the oven on and takes the pizzas out of the fridge. Once they're in the oven, she sets the timer for 8 minutes. She takes out 3 plates. While she's waiting, she makes herself a coffee and pours 2 glasses of squash and carries them in. Alfie has changed channel to a violent-looking cartoon, where all the characters are depicted in red and black and fighting with swords and daggers. "You cannot watch this, Alfie! Your sister is too young!" Jess jabs a button on the remote control, taking it straight back to The Simpsons. "You're not in charge of me!" He narrows his eyes at Jess and tries to snatch the control from her, but she swipes it out of his reach and carries it with her back to the kitchen. He never used to be so rude. He used to like her coming over, but he's become so moody and argumentative lately that it worries her. She collects up the empty pizza boxes and opens the bin, but it's full, so she unlocks the back door and takes them straight out to the recycle bin. Outside, the wind has picked up and it's started raining. The ground is slippery underfoot. She heard the local weather reporter explain on Instagram earlier that if the temperature hits 0, the rain freezes the instant it hits the ground. The bins are lined up down the side of the patio. Jess lifts the grey bin lid and chucks the boxes inside. As she shuts it, her eye is drawn to a clinking sound at the bottom of the lawn, like something hitting metal. Taking a step forward, she concentrates hard to hear it again, but it's difficult with creaking branches and swishing leaves rustling in the wind. A blur of movement catches her eye. Was it an animal or someone prowling around? She jumps at the distinct crack of a twig. "Who's there?" she calls into the darkness, a tremor in her voice. She folds her arms around herself and glances back at the comforting pool of light from the kitchen window. Without waiting for a reply, she hurries back up the path, the growing storm filling her ears, heart banging against her ribs. Fear seems to pull her back so she can't move as quickly as she wants to, needs to. Someone could be moving closer behind her, but she'd never hear them. Stupid to have left her phone in the living room. She could have used the torch on it. And doesn't Vicki keep a torch on the shelf by the back door? Why didn't she bring it? The oven beeper suddenly buzzes, making her jump out of her skin. She thrusts open the back door and slams it shut, pulling the handle up sharply. Just as she lets out a breath and goes to turn the key in the lock, the handle jolts down a few millimetres. Ice slides through her whole body. Someone is trying to open the door. With all her body weight behind her, she leans against it and shoves the handle back up hard and turns the key. A shadow emerges on the other side of the glass panel. Someone is standing there, staring right at her. Chapter 6. Jess jumps away from the back door, and whoever it was runs off down the garden. All she can make out is someone dressed in black. They must have climbed over the gate at the bottom, which leads onto an alleyway. It's accessible from the road, and kids tend to hang out there smoking and drinking. She'll have to tell Vicki when she comes back. If it was a burglar trying to break in, they could well return. For now, she needs to calm down and concentrate on feeding the kids and getting them to bed. She takes the pizza and garlic bread out of the oven. The cheese on top is a little browner than she intended, but it will be fine. She cuts it up and puts 3 slices on 3 plates and carries them on a tray into the living room. She hands one each to Bella and Alfie and sits on the armchair, leaving hers on the coffee table for now. Her appetite has vanished. It's dark outside, and with the TV and lights on, anyone can see in, but she won't be able to see them. Whoever was outside could still be snooping around. Her legs tremble as she stalks across the room. As she draws the curtains, she looks out but can't see anyone hanging around. It doesn't mean there isn't someone there, though. She shudders. What if she hadn't managed to lock the door in time? Whoever it was would have forced their way in, and then what? There's nothing particularly valuable in here except laptops and presumably Vicki's jewellery, but they could have hurt the children, or her. A knock on the door jolts her out of her seat, and she goes to open it an inch. Colin from across the road is standing there, with a bunch of pink carnations in his hand. She relaxes a little that it's only him. "These are for you." He thrusts them towards her and blinks. She frowns and leans back, slightly creeped out. She doesn't want to give him the impression she's interested in him romantically, but maybe she's reading too much into these little gifts. "That's so kind of you, thank you," Jess says automatically. He's just being thoughtful, she tells herself. Besides, he helped her out when she needed a friend. As she takes them from him, his fingers stretch out and he tries to touch her hand. She pulls away and their eyes lock. She frowns at him and he bows his head. This isn't the first time he's tried to touch her. Once in church during Harvest Festival, she was squeezed in next to him and his leg wouldn't stop shaking next to hers. She closes the door and takes the flowers into the kitchen and sticks them in a jug of water propped up in the sink. Was it Colin creeping around outside trying to get in the back door? She shakes her head. He wouldn't do that. She sits on the armchair again, leaving Bella and Alfie to sit on the sofa while they eat. Bella is watching Wednesday, while Alfie is flicking through TikTok on his mobile. Every now and again, a Snapchat message pops up on her phone. More pictures of her, this time taken behind her when she's walking to school. It could be any of her classmates. The comments, though, are more menacing than before. "I want you to myself." She pushes her phone under the cushion and tries to ignore it and concentrate on the programme. Just as she's about to bite into her pizza, there's a knock at the front door. She's not expecting anyone. Maybe Vicki has forgotten something and doesn't have her key. She pushes back the living room curtain and sneaks a look out. Ollie is standing there. He's rubbing his eyes as though he's just woken up. His short, fair hair is tousled and sexy-looking. She loves how tall and willowy he is. Opening the front door a few inches, she smiles at him through the gap. "What are you doing here?" she whispers. "You know the rules." "I want to speak to you. You're not answering your phone." "It's on airplane mode in my bag," she lies, not wanting to admit that she's ignoring his calls. She can't afford to lose her job because of chatting on the phone or anything else. "Anyway, I told you not to come here." She checks over her shoulder, then back at Ollie. "Was it you who tried to come in the back door just now?" "No. Why would I do that?" He frowns. "Someone tried to force their way in while I was locking it." "Shit." He shakes his head. "Well, it wasn't me. How would I even get round the back?" He points to the side of the house, as if she's not aware there's a locked gate there. If it wasn't him, then who could it have been? A homeless person trying to sneak in for food? They're not far from a food bank. She helped out there a couple of winters ago. Maybe it's shut, and whoever it was is desperately hungry. Even though it's a bit of a stretch, it's a possibility, and she begins to feel bad. They've had their milk and bread delivery stolen from their front doorstep before. "I didn't want to leave things as they were. I needed to see you, make sure you were okay." He glances at the ground. "Sorry for what I said last night. It was out of order." "Yes, it was, but thank you." She purses her lips, checks over her shoulder again to see if they've disturbed the kids. The sound level of the television is high and the door is ajar. She steps aside and pulls it until it's almost shut. When she turns back to Ollie, his foot is over the threshold. Could she sneak him into the kitchen? Just for a little while? Better not. One thing could lead to another and she's not ready for that. Anyway, her job is to keep an eye on those two, especially with Alfie in such a belligerent mood. Are you going to say sorry to me too? He leans against the doorframe, his eyebrows raised and half a smile on his lips. Sorry for what? She flutters her eyelashes. You know what? His smile is gone. No, I'm not. She holds his gaze. I don't like what you're doing. I told you I think you should stop. So you're not really sorry then? I don't mean to upset you, but seriously, is this what you want to do with your life? Yeah, why not? She goes up on her tiptoes and kisses Ollie's lips to try and pacify him, and his arms wrap around her as he kisses her back. Can I change your mind? She asks, slipping a hand up his t-shirt onto his back. No, I'd never do something like that. He pulls away from her. You're asking a lot, you do know that, right? But we'd be so good together. You agree with that, don't you? Yeah, we would, but in private, not in front of a camera. And what about later when we're both out there looking for serious jobs? I've heard of people being found out by employers, getting the sack or not getting the job in the first place. It might not matter by then. It could become our full-time work if we want it to, and we'd make mega bucks. He sighs. Really? It's not for me. I've always wanted to do something with cars, maybe work at Formula One someday. She pulls away. All right, well, I'm not saying you have to do it. I just thought we could try, that's all. He shakes his head and scrunches his nose up like he does when he finds something distasteful, but doesn't want to say a load of ugly words. Anyway, your dad doesn't like me, so he's hardly going to let me go up to your bedroom. Look, think about it. I need to get back to the kids. I'll speak to you in the morning, okay? She tries to dismiss what he said, but he's not wrong. Her dad has never liked any of her boyfriends, not since her first date back in year 3. He always finds something about them to criticise, and he says Ollie is too bookish and straight-laced. He expects all men to be macho like him. Fine. He swings a kick at the bush by the side of the door and slopes off down the path. Sometimes it scares her how quickly his mood changes, especially as her dad has the same trait, but is much more physical. After he's gone, Jess watches the rest of the episode, then sets about getting the kids to bed. Alfie complains, as she knew he would, but she concentrates on helping Bella, and in the end he hands his phone to her without any fuss. She wonders why he's not kicked off. Soon after she's turned their lights out, she goes back into his room and catches him on his tablet, so she takes that too and switches it to silent. She drops both devices in her rucksack and zips it up. Downstairs, she takes her mobile out from under the cushion, ignoring any message alerts on the screen, and catches up on her social media, mainly answering questions and replying to her regulars. She's always strict with the time she spends on her phone, and when she's finished, she drops it back in her rucksack. When she's sure Alfie and Bella are asleep, she pulls out the box she bought at the chemist. She lays the contents out and reads the instructions. Her hands are trembling. After a moment of deliberation, she stuffs it all back inside and closes the lid. Maybe another day would be better, but there's nowhere safe. It's too risky at home. She carries the box to the bathroom and locks the door behind her. Chapter 7. Vicki. We park outside the gastropub, and before we go in, Mark takes my hand and gently pulls me to him. His eyes roam over my face and deep into my eyes. Then his arms reach around me, his body pressing against mine as he kisses me firmly on the lips. When we move away from one another, we hold each other's gaze as though nothing else around us exists. Maybe we should skip the meal and go straight home. The kids will be asleep soon, I say in a low, seductive voice. But the babysitter is still there. His smile half lifts his lips, as though he accepts the disappointment. I can send her home early, or we could go to yours instead. I lift his palm to my lips and plant a trail of kisses. Sorry, I was going to tell you about that tonight. I've got workmen in. It's quite a mess, he says. But your house is perfect. What could possibly need doing? The roof leaked rain into one of the ensuite bathrooms, causing a lot of damage. All the flooring was ruined and part of the ceiling, and the roof needs repairing. Oh, God, that's awful. Yeah, it is. And so it's not exactly a romantic setting. I don't think I'd care or notice, I smile. He gives a weak smile and shakes his head. I mean, it really isn't safe. It's like a building site. He sighs and takes my hands in his. It's actually made me think about my situation and whether I really want to stay there at all. Oh, really? But it's such a lovely house. And you haven't been there long, have you? 4.5, 5 years. But it's never felt quite my own. The decor is what my former partner chose. And I've been thinking, why am I still living with my ex's ghost? Perhaps he thinks the house is jinxed because it didn't work out between them. We agreed not to delve too deeply into our past relationships, mainly because of my breakup with Lee still being so raw. Were you two together for long? I can't help but ask. He shoots me a curious look, as though he can't believe I've crossed a line, but still answers obligingly. A few years, but we grew apart. I wanted to get married and have children, but she wasn't ready to settle down. She was 10 years younger than me. It didn't matter to start with, but after 3 years I brought up the subject of getting engaged and trying for a baby. But she shut down the conversation straight away. I suppose you could say the age gap had started to show. By the following year, she'd moved out with my blessing to go travelling round the world. He sighs and caresses the tips of my fingers. I was heartbroken, of course, but 15 months later you walked into my life. The only problem was that you were married. His grimace morphs into a smile. Good thing I fell for you then, isn't it? I say and swallow down the guilt. I'd been so pleased to get the job as Mark's PA at his property business, Venture Properties UK. He started the renovation company about 2 years ago. I thought it would be a bonus working at the same place as Lee, having the same boss, although Lee was often out inspecting sites while I was based in the office. But starting an affair with Mark was never on my agenda. It certainly is, he grins, touching my cheek with the back of his hand. Anyway, I've made a big decision. Oh, really? A fizz of adrenaline bolts through my body. Could he be about to propose? Part of me would be flattered beyond belief.